Power comes in many forms across the galaxy. Some wield it through brute force, others through cunning manipulation. But perhaps the most fascinating form of power is knowledge itself. For Darth Plagueis, the wise 10th on our list of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time, knowledge wasn't just power. It was everything born into the lineage of Darth Bane's rule of two. Plagueis began as the apprentice to Darth Teneris before eventually claiming his rightful place as Sith Master. But unlike his predecessors, who typically focused on combat prowess or political domination, Plagueis took the Sith in an entirely new direction. He saw the Force not just as a weapon or tool, but as a scientific frontier waiting to be explored. Imagine the most sterile laboratory tucked away on some remote world inside stands a moon, tall and gaunt, his eyes gleaming with intensity as he conducts experiments that push the boundaries of what most believed possible. This was Plagueis methodically unlocking secrets of the Force that many thought were merely legends. His most remarkable achievement was something no Sith Lord before him had accomplished. Plagueis learned to directly manipulate midichlorians, the microscopic life forms that connect all living things to the Force, through painstaking research and dark rituals. He gained the ability to influence these fundamental particles, to create life where none existed, and even prevent death itself for decades. Plagueis dedicated himself to unraveling the mysteries of immortality, while other Sith Lords throughout history sought eternal life through artifacts or essence transfer. Plagueis came closer than any before him to achieving true immortality through direct manipulation of the Force itself. His journals spoke of successful experiments, extending life, and even creating it from nothing, achievements that bordered on godlike power. But Plagueis wasn't just a researcher locked away in a laboratory. He understood that true galactic domination required political influence from the shadows. He established connections with crime syndicates, powerful corporations, and corrupt politicians. Each relationship was a thread in his vast web designed to gradually undermine the Republic from within. These machinations laid crucial groundwork for the political chaos that would later serve his apprentice so well. Speaking of his apprentice, perhaps Plagueis' most significant contribution to Sith history was recognizing and cultivating the extraordinary potential in a young man named Palpatine. Sensing something special in the ambitious youth from Naboo, Plagueis took him under his wing, molding him into what would eventually become the most powerful Sith Lord in history. Under Plagueis' tutelage, Palpatine learned not just the ways of the dark side, but the art of political manipulation that would eventually allow him to bring down the Jedi Order. Interestingly, Plagueis even sought to modify Darth Bane's rule of two philosophy, where Bane established that there should always be to Sith a master to embody power and an apprentice to crave it. Plagueis envisioned something different. He saw himself and Sidious ruling together eternally, forever expanding their knowledge and power as dual Dark Lords of the Sith. Sadly for Plagueis, his apprentice had other ideas in true Sith fashion. Sidious eventually betrayed his master, striking him down while he slept. The ultimate irony was that Plagueis, who had mastered the ability to save others from death, could not save himself. When that moment arrived, the legacy of Darth Plagueis lives on, not through grand conquests or infamous battles, but through the ripple effects of his research and his most successful creation, Darth Sidious. His story reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous power isn't the one that announces itself with lightning and thunder, but the one that works quietly, patiently, rewriting the rules of reality itself. Some beings are so corrupted by the dark side that they cease to be individuals and become living embodiment of hunger itself. This was the case for Darth New's number 9 on our list of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time, a being so consumed by his connection to the dark side that he became something beyond mortal comprehension. The story of Nihilus begins in tragedy during the Mandalorian Wars. The exact details of his early life remain shrouded in mystery, but what historians do know is that he experienced something so traumatic that it fundamentally altered his connection to the Force. The catastrophic event created what Jedi scholars later termed a wound in the Force within him. Unlike typical Force users who connect to the energy field, Nihilus became a void, constantly needing to feed on Force energy just to survive. This affliction transformed him from a conventional being into something more akin to a force of nature. His hunger for the Force grew so intense that it manifested as a physical condition. The more he consumed, the more he needed to consume. It was a terrible cycle that pushed him beyond the limits of his physical form. As his dark side corruption advanced, his body could no longer contain his power, forcing him to bind his consciousness to his mask and robes to maintain any semblance of existence. Perhaps the most terrifying demonstration of his power came when he completely drained the planet Qatar of all life in mere moments. Try to grasp the magnitude of such an act. An entire world filled with billions of living beings, including a conclave of Jedi Masters who had gathered there, wiped out almost instantaneously. The power required to consume life on such a scale had never been witnessed before or since in galactic history. This insatiable hunger gave Nihilus abilities that defied conventional understanding of the Force. He could consume Jedi Masters instantly, their lifetime of training providing no defense against his unnatural abilities. Force sensitives across vast distances could feel his presence approaching like a cold void in the fabric of the Force itself. It was as if the Force itself feared him during what historians call the Dark Wars. Nihilus served as one of the 3 Dark Lords in the Sith Triumvirate, alongside Darth C and Darth Trey. Together, they controlled vast portions of the galaxy in the power vacuum following the Jedi Civil War, while Traya provided the strategic direction and offered brute force. Nihilus brought a power that could literally consume worlds. What makes Nihilus particularly notable is that, despite primarily existing in legends material, his influence has reached into modern canon. His iconic mask and likeness appear as statues on Ixagel in The Rise of Skywalker, confirming his significance in Sith history. These statues stand as silent testament to a being so powerful that even thousands of years later, the Sith cult on Exegol still honored his memory. The legacy of Darth Nihilus serves as a grim warning about the ultimate price of power. His story shows that even the dark side has its limits, and those who push beyond them risk becoming slaves to their own hunger. In his quest for power, Nihilus lost his humanity, his physical form, and ultimately his very identity. He became not just a wielder of the dark side, but a terrifying manifestation of its most consuming aspects. A black hole in the Force that could devour worlds but never satisfy the emptiness within the rarest power in the galaxy isn't strength, speed, or even mastery of the Force. It's perspective number 8 on our list of the most powerful Sith Lords, is perhaps the only being in galactic history who truly understood both sides of the eternal conflict. Darth Revan walked both paths, wielded both lights, and emerged as something neither Jedi nor Sith could fully comprehend before becoming the feared Sith. Lord Revan was among the most celebrated Jedi Knights of his era when the Mandalorian threatened the Republic. The Jedi Council hesitated to act. Revan, however, defied their orders and led a faction of Jedi into the conflict. This decision would alter the course of galactic history. On the battlefield, Revan revealed himself as a military genius. Without equal he led Republic forces to victory after victory, developing strategies that are still studied in militarisms thousands of years later. The war reached its climax when Revan faced Mandalore, the ultimate in single combat. Their duel ended with Mandalore defeated. The Mandalorian Wars concluded, and the warrior culture pledging loyalty to the victor, an achievement no other Jedi or Sith had accomplished before or since. But victory came with a terrible price. During the hunt for remaining Mandalorian forces, Revan ventured into the unknown regions, where he encountered something that forever changed him. The exact nature of this encounter remains shrouded in mystery, but when Revan returned to Republic space, he had fallen to the dark side and proclaimed himself a Dark Lord of the Sith, with his apprentice, Darth Malak, at his side. Revan turned his tactical brilliance against the very Republic he once defended. The Jedi Civil War that followed nearly succeeded where the Mandalorian had failed. The same military genius that had saved the Republic now threatened to destroy it. What made Revan truly unique was his approach to the Force. Unlike most who fell to darkness, Revan maintained a level of control and clarity. He wielded both a purple and red lightsaber simultaneously in combat, visually representing his position balanced between light and dark. This dual perspective gave him insights and abilities that pure Jedi or pure Sith could never access. The Jedi eventually captured Revan after Malak betrayed him in a controversial decision. The Jedi Council erased his memories and created a new identity for him. But the Force runs deeper than memory. Despite this mental reprogramming, Revan's true self gradually reasserted itself, demonstrating a connection to the Force. Powerful, it transcended even the loss of his own identity. After recovering fragments of his past, Revan made a choice few could comprehend. Rather than seeking revenge or power, he ventured alone into the unknown regions to combat an ancient threat he called the true Sith. This decision showed not just confidence in his abilities, but a willingness to face an entire civilization of dark side users by himself. The legacy of Revan challenges our understanding of the Force itself. Was he Jedi? Was he Sith? Or was he something else entirely? His story suggests that true power may not come from pledging oneself fully to either light or dark, but from understanding both paths and forging a third way forward in a galaxy defined by absolutes. Revan represented nuance, complexity, and the possibility that the greatest strength comes not from rejecting one side of the Force, but from embracing both. Some legacies echo through millennia, leaving marks so deep that even their ruins whisper. With dark power, number 7 on our list is an ancient evil whose shadow stretches from the distant past into the modern era. Exarchon was not just a Sith Lord, but a revolutionary who forever changed the nature of darkside practice. Originally a talented Jedi apprentice, Kuhn's hunger for forbidden knowledge led him down paths the Jedi Council had expressly forbidden. His fall to darkness resulted in one of the most devastating conflicts the Old Republic ever faced, with consequences that would reshape Sith philosophy for generations to come. What set apart from his predecessors was his mastery of dark-side alchemy. He pioneered applications of Sith magic that transformed the very nature of combat and warfare. Perhaps his most enduring invention was the double-bladed lightsaber, a weapon that would later be adopted by Sith assassins throughout history, most notably by Darth Maul. Thousands of years later, this innovation alone changed lightsaber combat forever. On Yavin 4, Kun subjected the native Massassi species to horrific dark rituals, transforming them into force-enhanced warriors, loyal only to him. These experiments demonstrated not just his cruelty, but his ability to manipulate life itself through the dark side. The massive temples that still stand on Yavin 4 were built under his direction, with architecture specifically designed to focus and amplify dark-side energies. These same temples would ironically later serve as the base for the Rebel Alliance in their fight against the Empire. The scale of Kun's ambition became clear when he established the Brotherhood of the Sith by corrupting Jedi Knights en masse. Previous Sith had turned individual Jedi to the dark side, but managed to seduce scores of Jedi simultaneously, creating the first true Sith army since the ancient empire. This achievement demonstrated not just his power, but his charisma and understanding of Jedi psychology. His assault on the Great Jedi Library on OSUs revealed the depth of his hatred for his former order. During this attack, he destroyed countless irreplaceable Jedi artifacts and manuscripts while killing numerous Jedi Masters. This wasn't just warfare, but an attempt to erase Jedi knowledge and history from the galaxy. The true measure of Kun's power, however, became apparent after his physical death. When cornered by Jedi forces on Yavin 4, he performed a ritual so powerful that it allowed his spirit to survive independently of his body. This preservation of consciousness was so complete that his spirit remained active for over 40 years, eventually attempting to corrupt students at Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy on that same moon millennia later. Historical records from the period describe as once the most powerful and dangerous of all the Dark Lords of the Sith. In the Old Republic, the sheer number of deaths attributed to his campaigns and the scale of destruction he unleashed support this assessment. Few dark-side users before or since have achieved such wide-ranging influence. The legacy of Exaron reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous fall from grace is that of someone who once walked in the light. His transition from promising Jedi to terrifying Sith Lord serves as a cautionary tale about the seductive nature of forbidden knowledge and the thin line between passion for learning and lust for power. Long after his physical form vanished, his innovations in darkside practice continued to influence Sith Lords throughout the ages, making him not just a wielder of great power, but a transformative figure in Sith history. The most dangerous mind in the galaxy isn't the one that masters the Force, but the one that questions it entirely. Coming in at number 6 on our list is a Sith Lord so philosophically radical that she sought not to control the Force, but to destroy it completely. Darth Traya stands as perhaps the most intellectually complex figure in Sith history. Before she became Darth Traya, she was known as Kree, a respected Jedi Master whose most famous student was none other than Revan himself. After Revan's fall to the dark side, the Jedi Council blamed Kreia for his corruption and exiled her from the Order. This rejection sparked a transformation that would challenge the very foundations of Force philosophy. What made Trey truly unique was her triple identity journey. She began as Jedi Master Kree, transformed into Sith Lord Darth Traya, and ultimately transcended both identities. Gaining insights no other Force user in history possessed, this evolution gave her a perspective that allowed her to see flaws in both Jedi and Sith ideologies. Her combat abilities defied conventional understanding of Force limitations. Traya could telekinetically control 3 lightsabers simultaneously in battle without physically touching them. Picture a blind woman standing calmly as 3 crimson blades whirled around her in perfect harmony, creating an impenetrable defense and devastating offense. This display of telekinetic mastery left even accomplished Jedi Masters in awe, but her most terrifying power was one thought impossible by both Jedi and Sith scholars. Traya developed the ability to completely sever others from the Force permanently. This wasn't merely blocking someone's connection temporarily, but actually cutting them off from the energy field that binds the galaxy together forever. For Force sensitives who had lived their entire lives connected to this cosmic energy, such severance was worse than death itself. After her exile, Traya founded and led the Sith Triumvirate alongside her apprentices, Darth Nihilus and Darth Sion. Together they controlled what remained of the Sith forces following their defeat in the Jedi Civil War. While Nihilus consumed worlds and Sen embodied pain, Traya was the strategic mind behind their operations, orchestrating a systematic purge of Jedi across the galaxy. Her manipulations extended beyond simple political schemes. Traya orchestrated galaxy-spanning events from the shadows, using both Jedi and Sith as unwitting pawns in her grand design. Her ultimate goal wasn't galactic domination or personal power, but something far more radical. She sought to destroy the Force itself, viewing it as a manipulative cosmic entity that used living beings as puppets in an endless cycle of suffering. The philosophical revolution set her apart from all other Sith Lords. While they sought to master the dark side, she questioned why any being should serve the Force at all. She saw the traditional conflict between light and dark as meaningless, a distraction from the real truth that both Jedi and Sith were slaves to an uncaring cosmic will. The legacy of Darth Trey continues to challenge our understanding of the Force itself. Was she right? Is the Force not the benevolent energy field the Jedi describe, nor the tool of power the Sith claim, but something more insidious? Her questions remain unanswered, her philosophy unresolved. In the end, Treya's story reminds us that sometimes the greatest threat isn't the one who wields the most power, but the one who makes us question everything we thought we knew. In a universe divided by light and dark, she presented a third path, one that rejected the fundamental assumptions that had defined galactic conflict for millennia. That intellectual rebellion makes her not just one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time, but perhaps the most dangerously influential. Sometimes raw strength, combined with tactical brilliance, creates something more devastating than either quality alone. Number 5 on our list embodies this lethal combination. Darth Malgus wasn't just physically imposing, he was a military genius whose campaigns nearly ended the Jedi Order entirely. The galaxy first witnessed Malgus' terrifying potential during what historians now call the sacking of Coruscant at the height of the Great Galactic War. Malgus led a daring ground assault that culminated in the unthinkable. He personally infiltrated the Jedi Temple, the Sacred Heart of the Jedi Order. Security recordings from that terrible day show a black armored figure carving through Jedi defenders with ruthless efficiency. By the time the assault ended, the temple lay in ruins, and numerous Jedi Masters had fallen by his hand. This attack wasn't just a military victory, but a psychological one. The Jedi had believed their temple on Coruscant to be an impregnable sanctuary. Malgus shattered that illusion in a single day, proving that nowhere in the galaxy was truly safe from Sith vengeance. What made Malgus truly formidable was his resilience during one particularly brutal battle. He suffered injuries that would have killed most beings. Rather than succumbing to these wounds, his broken body was reconstructed. With advanced cybernetic enhancements, these modifications dramatically increased both his physical capabilities and his connection to the Force. The new Malgus was stronger, faster, and more attuned to dark side energies than before. Unlike many Sith who focused solely on personal power, Malgus applied his talents to military strategy. He revolutionized warfare tactics during the Old Republic era, developing approaches that militaries would study for millennia. His innovations in combining Force user abilities with conventional military operations created a template for future Sith campaigns. Historical accounts from the period contain a striking assessment of his capabilities. Multiple sources claim Malgus possessed enough individual power to single-handedly take care of the Jedi Order. While this might seem like exaggeration, the fact remains that he came closer than almost any other Sith to destroying the organization entirely, bringing them to the brink of extinction multiple times. Perhaps most interesting was Malgus' philosophical approach to the Sith tradition itself. He embraced a revolutionary interpretation of Sith ideology that rejected rigid adherence to ancient practices where traditional Sith clung to established doctrines. Malgus advocated for evolution and adaptation. He believed the Sith must change to survive, a perspective that made him as much a reformer as a warrior. His mastery of Force abilities reflected this innovative mindset. Malgus developed exceptional control over Force rage, a technique that transformed pain and anger into raw power. Where most Sith who utilized this ability became blind berserkers, Malgus maintained tactical awareness even in his most rage-filled states. This combination of fury and calculation made him virtually unstoppable on the battlefield. The legacy of Darth Malgus serves as a reminder that the most dangerous enemies are those who can think as well as fight. His campaigns weren't just exercises in destruction, but carefully orchestrated strategic operations. Each move served a larger purpose. Each battle contributed to a comprehensive vision for Sith dominance in an order often plagued by short-sighted ambition and backstabbing. Malgus represented something different. He was brutality with purpose, rage with direction, tradition with innovation. These qualities made him not just one of the most powerful Sith Lords in history, but one of the most effective at translating that power into lasting impact on the galaxy. Leadership, combat mastery, and longevity rarely combine in a single individual. Number 4 on our list represents the pinnacle of what a Sith ruler could achieve for an entire century. One name struck fear across the galaxy and commanded absolute loyalty from his followers. Maragnos wasn't just a Sith. Lord, he was the architect of the Sith Empire's golden age during his remarkable 100-year reign as Dark Lord and Emperor. Ragnos transformed the Sith Empire from a collection of warring factions into a unified force of galactic significance. Under his leadership, Sith territories expanded dramatically, while internal prosperity reached heights never seen before or since in Sith history. This long period of success demonstrated leadership abilities that other Sith lords could only dream of. Achieving what made Ragnos particularly formidable was his genetic heritage. As a Sith-human hybrid, he possessed natural red skin and facial tendrils. Characteristic of his species, this ancestry gave him inherent connections to the dark side that pure humans simply couldn't access, enhancing his natural force. Abilities from birth, his imposing physical presence alone was enough to make rivals think twice before challenging his authority in combat. Ragnos established a legacy that remains unmatched even thousands of years later. Throughout his century-long rule, he never suffered defeat in personal combat. Historical records from multiple sources consider him possibly the greatest duelist in galactic history, rather than a lightsaber. Ragnos wielded an ancient Sith sword imbued with dark side energies, so powerful it could counter and even shatter lightsaber blades. But Ragnos wasn't just a physical combatant. He uniquely combined this martial prowess with mastery of Sith sorcery, giving him a versatility in battle that made him virtually unstoppable. Where most Sith specialized in either combat or magical arts, Ragnos excelled at both simultaneously. This combination meant he had no exploitable weaknesses for opponents to target. His contributions to Sith knowledge included pioneering new applications of alchemy. Ragnos developed techniques that allowed for the creation of Sith amulets and talismans, including his own legendary gauntlet that could significantly enhance the wearer's dark side powers. These innovations expanded the arsenal of dark side artifacts available to future generations of Sith. Perhaps most remarkable was what happened after his physical death. Ragnos proved to be one of the exceedingly few Sith lords powerful enough to maintain his identity as a Force ghost, where most darkside users simply dissolved into the cosmic energy of the Force upon death. Ragnos continued to influence Sith affairs for millennia from beyond the grave. Most notably, his spirit appeared to crown Exeron as Dark Lord thousands of years after his own passing. This persistence beyond death speaks to a level of darkside mastery almost beyond comprehension. Even the most accomplished Jedi Masters struggled to maintain consciousness after death. For a Sith to achieve this state required not just power, but a fundamental understanding of Force energy that most beings could never grasp. The legacy of Mara Ragnos stands as the gold standard against which all subsequent Sith rulers measured themselves. His combination of political acumen, combat mastery, mystical knowledge, and sheer longevity created a blueprint for the ideal Sith Emperor that so few managed to follow. This example speaks to just how exceptional Ragnos truly was. In a tradition plagued by assassination and betrayal, Ragnos maintained absolute control for a century. In an order where combat skills determined survival, he never knew defeat. And in a universe where death claims all physical beings, he found a way to extend his influence far beyond his mortal lifespan. These achievements secure his position as one of the most powerful Sith Lords in galactic history. Sometimes the most powerful force isn't the one that strikes the hardest blow, but the one that changes the rules of the game entirely. Number 3 on our list represents the ultimate strategic mind in Sith history. Darth Bane didn't just wield power, he completely reimagined how power should be structured, creating a legacy that would ultimately bring the Sith their greatest victory, first mentioned canonically in The Phantom Menace. Bane emerged from the ashes of the Sith Lords near total destruction, roughly 1,000 years before the events of the original Star Wars trilogy. What he found was a brotherhood of darkness, plagued by constant infighting and power struggles. Hundreds of Sith Lords competed for dominance, weakening the order from within. Bane recognized this fatal flaw and made a revolutionary decision that would echo through the centuries. His most significant contribution to Sith history was the creation of the Rule of Two doctrine, a radical philosophy summarized in his famous principle that there should be only two Sith at any time, a master to embody power and an apprentice to crave it. This seemingly simple rule represented a strategic master stroke. By limiting their numbers, Bane ensured that each generation of Sith would grow stronger than the last, as apprentices would only claim the mantle of master by surpassing and destroying their teachers. The brilliance of this approach became apparent over the subsequent millennium. Each succession concentrated power rather than diluting it, culminating in Darth Sidious, who finally achieved what countless Sith Lords had failed to accomplish: the destruction of the Jedi Order and domination of the galaxy. Bane's personal power was equally impressive during the devastating war between the Jedi and Sith armies on Rouse. The Sith leadership deployed a thought bomb, a weapon of mass destruction that consumed Force users in its blast radius. Bane demonstrated exceptional Force resilience as the lone survivor of this catastrophic event, shielding himself from energies that obliterated both Sith and Jedi alike. His physical resilience reached legendary status when he deliberately cultivated parasitic creatures called orbalisks on his body. These organisms formed a symbiotic relationship with their host, creating a living armor that granted Bane near invulnerability to lightsaber attacks, while significantly enhancing his strength and dark side powers. This willingness to embrace pain and transformation for greater power exemplified the Sith philosophy he championed as his life neared its natural end. Bane sought immortality through the ancient technique of essence transfer. This complex ritual would allow him to abandon his aging body and inhabit that of another being, he demonstrating mastery of one of the most difficult dark side techniques in existence. Unlike many figures from the expanded universe, Bane has been officially recognized in Disney canon, appearing as a Force ghost or allusion to Yoda during the Jedi Master's visit to Moraband in the Clone Wars animated series. This canonical acknowledgement confirms his exceptional importance to Sith history. The legacy of Darth Bane reminds us that sometimes the most powerful individuals aren't those who dominate their own era, but those who set in motion events that reshape the future. Through his apprentice, Zana, and the successive generations of Sith that followed his doctrine, Bane's influence extended far beyond his lifetime. His strategic vision laid the groundwork for a revenge plot that would take 1,000 years to fulfill, making him not just a powerful Sith Lord, but perhaps the most influential one in galactic history. Perhaps the most controversial entry on our list. Number 2 2 represents a Sith Lord who divided the fan community, but whose raw power cannot be denied before the asterisk. Release of The Force Awakens introduced us to Kylo Ren. Another Solo child had already walked the path from Jedi hero to Sith Lord. Darth Caedus, formerly Jacen Solo, wasn't just powerful because of his heritage. He was powerful because he surpassed it. As the son of Han Solo and Leia Organa, Jacen inherited the immense force potential of the Skywalker bloodline. This genetic advantage gave him a connection to the Force that few beings in galactic history could match. Fan analyzes consistently note that only Grandmaster Luke Skywalker, at the height of his abilities, was considered Caedus equal in raw power. This placed him in truly rarefied company among the most formidable Force users the galaxy had ever known, but raw power alone doesn't explain his high ranking. What made Caedus truly exceptional was the diversity of his Force abilities before his fall to the dark side. Jacen Solo traveled extensively, studying with various Force-using traditions. Beyond the Jedi, he mastered techniques from both Jedi and Sith teachings, along with esoteric methods from groups like the Witches of Dathomir and the Falanasi. This created a versatile power set that allowed him to approach conflicts from angles his opponents couldn't anticipate. Among his most dangerous skills was his mastery of memory and mind manipulation. Caedus developed unparalleled abilities to alter memories and create complex illusions, allowing him to reshape perceptions and manipulate even individuals with strong mental defenses. This subtle approach to power gave him advantages that brute force Sith Lords could never access. His most unique ability, however, was something called flow walking. This rare technique allowed Caedus to observe past and future events, giving him tactical advantages no other Sith possessed. Being able to glimpse potential futures meant he could adapt his strategies based on information his enemies couldn't possibly have. In some cases, he could even make small alterations to the course of history, an ability that borders on godlike. Unlike most Sith who operated from the shadows, Caedus took a different approach to power. He openly led the Galactic Alliance during a time of civil war, commanding legitimate military forces while simultaneously functioning as a Sith Lord. This public leadership role allowed him to implement his dark side agenda on a galactic scale without the need for elaborate deception. What's particularly notable about Caedus is how he compared to his infamous grandfather Darth Vader. Many fan analyses point out that Caedus succeeded where Vader failed, while Vader served as the Emperor's enforcer. Caedus achieved genuine political power in his own right, and while Vader was limited by his injuries and mechanical suit, Caedus reached his full potential physically and in the Force. He combined Vader's tactical brilliance with power that wasn't constrained by the limitations his grandfather faced. The legacy of Darth Caedus reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous fall from grace is the one no one sees coming. The transformation of the idealistic Jedi Knight Jacen Solo into the tyrannical Sith Lord Darth Caedus shocked the galaxy precisely because he had once represented such hope for the future. His story serves as a cautionary tale about how even the purest intentions can lead to darkness. When power becomes an end in itself, it comes as no surprise that the number one spot on our list belongs to the Sith Lord who accomplished what his predecessors could only dream of. Darth Sidious, also known as Shiv Palpatine, or simply the Emperor, represents the ultimate culmination of 1,000 years of Sith evolution. Following Darth Bane's rule of 2, each generation of Sith had grown stronger than the last, all leading to this single moment. This single man. What made Sidious so formidable was his unparalleled mastery of the Force in the expanded universe material. He demonstrated powers that bordered on godlike. Perhaps his most terrifying ability was the creation of force storms, massive hyperspace wormholes that could rip apart the fabric of space-time itself. With a gesture, he could create vortices capable of swallowing entire fleets. This level of power transcended what most beings thought possible, placing Sidious in a category entirely his own. But raw power alone doesn't explain his success. Sidious was also a political genius whose patience and foresight allowed him to orchestrate the fall of the Republic and the Jedi Order. Over decades, he meticulously positioned himself as senator, then chancellor, then emperor, manipulating both the Republic and separatist forces simultaneously in the Clone Wars. This political maneuvering represented the perfect execution of the grand plan that had begun with Darth Bane a millennium earlier. Beyond conventional Force abilities, Sidious mastered ancient Sith sorceries, long thought lost to time. The most significant of these was the technique of essence transfer, which allowed him to cheat death by moving his consciousness to cloned bodies after his apparent death at the hands of Darth Vader. This ability enabled his eventual return on the Sith world of Exegol, where he had prepared contingency plans spanning decades. This mastery of dark science and Sith secrets demonstrated a level of foresight unmatched by any other Sith Lord. Despite his elderly appearance and seeming physical frailty, Sidious was a lightsaber master of the highest caliber. During the execution of Order 66, he personally confronted and defeated 3 Jedi Masters in seconds, moving with such speed that his attacks were barely visible. Later, he dueled Grand Master Yoda to a standstill, holding his own against one of the greatest duelists the Jedi Order had ever produced. This combat prowess revealed that his aged appearance masked physical capabilities far beyond normal limitations. Perhaps most impressive was his ability to hide in plain sight. For decades, Sidious concealed his true nature from the entire Jedi Council, including powerful Force users like Yoda and Mace. Wu, his skill at clouding the future and manipulating perceptions, was so advanced that he regularly attended meetings in the Jedi Temple without anyone sensing his dark side affiliation. This perfect deception allowed him to orchestrate the downfall of the Jedi from within their very midst. The legacy of Darth Sidious represents the absolute pinnacle of what a Sith Lord could achieve. Where others failed, he succeeded. Where others were discovered and defeated, he remained hidden until the perfect moment to strike. Where others controlled planets or sectors, he ruled the entire galaxy. His story serves as the ultimate validation of Darth Bane's vision, proving that patience, secrecy, and the careful accumulation of power could indeed bring the Sith to victory over their ancient Jedi enemies. When we look at the grand tapestry of Sith history, from Darth Plagueis to Nihilus, from Revan to Bane, we see powerful individuals who each contributed to the evolution of the dark side. But Sidious stands alone as the one who brought all these threads together, combining political genius, Force mastery, combat prowess, and strategic patience into a single, unstoppable package. That combination makes him, without question, the most powerful Sith Lord of all time. Asterisk.